This free step-by-step video comes to you directly from Haynes, creators of the world's best repair manuals. Fix your car or truck the right way with our accurate and reliable information at your side. You can complete more than 200 jobs on this vehicle when you purchase the complete online manual at Haynes.com.
Water pump replacement. Pull the hood release lever located on the driver's side kick panel. Lift the hood slightly, push the hood safety latch to your right, then raise the hood. Remove the hood prop rod and place it in the slot marked for the hood prop. Loosen the cable bolt from the negative battery terminal, then disconnect the negative battery cable. Position the cable aside to prevent accidental reconnection. Cooling system draining. Remove the expansion tank cap. Apply the parking brake. Chock the rear wheels to prevent the vehicle from rolling. Place a floor jack under the center of the subframe and jack the car up until jack stands can be slid in under the sides of the car. Place a jack stand on each side of the vehicle under the vehicle and adjust the jack height until it engages with the proper jacking point on the unibody seam. Lower the jack until the body is resting squarely onto the jack stands. Move a large container under the radiator drain to catch the coolant. The drain valve is located on the lower right end of the radiator. Attach a length of hose to the fitting to allow the coolant to drain directly into the drain pan. Open the drain fitting and allow the coolant to drain into the drain pan. A pair of pliers may be required to turn the fitting. While the coolant is draining, check the condition of the radiator hoses, heater hoses, and clamps. Replace any damaged clamps or hoses. When the flow of coolant stops, tighten the drain fitting securely. Dispose of the used coolant properly. Disconnect the mass airflow (MAF) sensor and harness from the air filter housing. Loosen the hose clamp at the intake duct and disconnect the duct. Disconnect the tube from the lower side of the air filter housing. Lift up on the housing to work the mounting bosses from their mounts. If you're working on a 1.4-liter engine, support the engine from below with a floor jack and a block of wood, or from above with an engine support fixture. With the engine supported from below, remove the right-hand engine mount nuts and bolts. Remove the engine mount. Unscrew the engine mount bracket bolts, then remove the bracket with the bolts. Note how the drive belt is routed, then place a reverse star socket and ratchet onto the tensioner pulley center bolt. Rotate the arm clockwise on a 1.4-liter engine or counterclockwise on a 1.8-liter engine. Then insert a punch through the tensioner and into the timing chain cover to lock the tensioner into the released position. Slide the belt off of one of the pulleys and remove the belt from the engine. Move a large container under the thermostat housing to catch the coolant. Disconnect the electrical connector from the sensor in the housing. Use a small screwdriver and pliers to lift up the radiator hose retaining clip. Disconnect the radiator hose from the thermostat housing. Remove the PCV vent pipe from the turbocharger and place the pipe out of the way. Remove the thermostat housing cover mounting bolts, then slowly remove the thermostat assembly from the engine, allowing the coolant to drain into the pan. Disconnect the bypass hose clamp and hose from the thermostat housing and remove the thermostat housing thermostat assembly from the engine. Counterhold the water pump with a wrench on the flats of the water pump hub, then remove the bolts and pulley. Using spring clamp pliers, disconnect the hose clamp and slide the clamp back on the hose. Detach the hose from the water pump. Disconnect the electrical connector to the CMP actuator solenoid valve and move the connector out of the way. Remove the water pump mounting bolts. Obtain new water pump mounting bolts marked A. They must be replaced during reassembly. Use a screwdriver to pry against the pump tab to break the seal and remove the water pump. Remove the pump gasket from the front cover. Clean the sealing surface of all gasket material. Wipe the surface with a rag saturated with brake system cleaner. Install a new gasket to the pump, holding it in place with the new bolts in positions A. Then install the pump to the timing chain cover. Install the remaining bolts and tighten them hand tight, a little at a time, in a crisscross pattern. Now tighten the water pump bolts in a crisscross pattern to the specified torque settings. Tighten the water pump mounting bolts marked A to the specified torque settings. Install the bypass hose, then use spring clamp pliers to install the clamp. Clean the sealing surface on the housing. Place the thermostat housing gasket into the groove in the housing. Connect the bypass hose to the thermostat housing and install the spring clamp. Place the thermostat housing assembly onto the housing and install the mounting bolts. Tighten the thermostat mounting bolts to the specified torque setting. Install the radiator hose onto the housing cover, then press the radiator hose retaining clip downwards until it snaps into place. Connect the electrical connector to the sensor and the PCV vent pipe to the turbocharger. Connect the electrical connector to the CMP actuator solenoid valve. Install the water pump pulley and bolts. Counterhold the water pump with a wrench on the flats of the water pump hub. Then tighten the water pump pulley bolts to the specified torque setting. Install the belt over the pulleys. Make sure the belt is engaged completely into the pulley grooves. Rotate the tensioner clockwise on a 1.4-liter engine or counterclockwise on a 1.8-liter engine and remove the punch. Then release the tensioner to apply tension to the belt. Double check that the belt is engaged completely into all the pulley grooves. Install the engine mount bracket and bolts. Tighten the mount bracket bolts to the specified torque setting. Install the right-hand mount. Tighten the right-hand mount bolts and nuts to the specified torque setting. Lower the floor jack, then remove the jack and block of wood, or remove the engine support fixture if used. Install the air filter housing, making sure the mounting bosses are sealed into their mounts. Connect the tube to the lower side of the air filter housing and attach the intake tube and resonator ports and tighten the clamp securely. Connect the mass airflow MAF sensor and harness to the air filter housing. Connect the negative battery cable to the battery terminal and tighten the cable bolt securely. Place the heater temperature control in the maximum heat position. Locate the vent screw at the top corner of the radiator, then loosen the screw a few turns. Place a funnel into the expansion tank, then slowly fill the expansion tank with the correct mixture of antifreeze until the fluid starts to come out of the vent screw. Then tighten the screw, and continue to fill the reservoir until the level is at the cold fill mark. Install the cap on the expansion tank, then start the engine. Raise the engine speed to approximately 3,000 RPM in 30-second cycles until the engine reaches normal operating temperature and the thermostat opens. Turn the engine off and allow it to cool. Remove the expansion tank cap. If there is any hissing noise coming from the tank, wait until it stops, then remove the cap. Add coolant to the tank until the level is half an inch above the cold fill mark. Then repeat this process of starting the engine, raising the engine speed to fast idle, then turning the engine off. With the engine cool, add coolant as necessary to bring the level 1/2 inch above the cold fill mark on the tank. Install the expansion tank cap securely.